Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Italian Turtles, and this is a comedy short film from writer-director Vin Nucatola. And how do you think a pitch meeting went for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? And that is the story that this writer-director wants to tell us. And over the course of this little 9-minute, 10-minute film, we get to see the two guys, a George Costanza type, and maybe a John Oates type from Hall & Oates with crazy curly mullet and mustache, sitting there being like, this is our last chance. And we have to make this work. We have to make this pitch. And Nick Piacenti and Chris D'Amato, I think, do such a fun job of really embodying these two very nervous young men who are like, we really need to make this work. And we feel for them. It's like these two creatives who obviously are very passionate about what they do and are desperate not to, Kevin, Mr. Mullet, doesn't want to, serve crab every summer for the rest of his life, going back to doing summer jobs and stuff like that. And you have Timothy J. Cox come in with his two kind of like business lackeys, and they're all sitting on the other side of the table while this pitch is going on, and I could just tell Timothy J. Cox was having so much fun being like this 80s businessman sitting there being like, you say these turtles are teenagers? They know like martial arts? And like you could just see how much fun Cox is playing with being this coy guy questioning everything. And you just have this tension building because Peter and Kevin don't know if this is, working or not. And this back and forth, and it's just a really clever concept because, like, who would have said yes to this? Because if you take a step back and think about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they're teenage turtles who know martial arts, who love pizza, who are trained by a giant rat to fight, these evil, like, mob martial artists. And you're just like, that sounds ridiculous. And this little short film, this comedy plays with that so well, and there's a lot of laughs. There's, like, each of these performances are just slightly over the top. That really captures, like, this goofy 80s vibe. And the fact that, like, Kevin's mullet and mustache are so fake looking, it's silly. And it's one of those, like, I feel like it's having fun satirically with the idea of, like, it's like, you have all these little details about characters, and you see this in prequels where it's just, like, lampshading, like, oh, that's where that came from. And this film has fun with that, and plays around with that convention about, like, how all these things came together. And it has some nice little just moments towards the end that really cap off that little satire here. But this is such a fun, charming little film, and Nucatola just really had a ball with, like, it feels like one of those kinds of ideas for a film where you're just, like, sitting there with your friends, like, how did somebody greenlight something so strange? And then you're like, but what if we made a movie about this pitch meeting? And, at this point, they have these joke YouTube channels now of all these pitch meetings for all these movies, and I feel like this one kind of got ahead of them and really put that out there. And this is just such a fun little film, and everybody's having a blast with their performances, and I just had a smile on my face for 10 minutes watching this silly little flick that is a ton of fun. But those are my thoughts on Italian Turtles. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.